Title: Your Story Isn't Over Yet by AI Audiobooks Empire. Introduction. Life is not a straight path, but a winding journey filled with valleys, mountains, storms, and sunshine. Many believe their story ends when they stumble, when they fail, or when they face rejection. Yet wisdom teaches us that endings are often beginnings in disguise. As the proverb says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Your story is not defined by the chapters of defeat, but by the courage to keep writing new ones. This audiobook is a companion for your journey, a reminder that no matter where you are, your story isn't over yet. Every soul carries untapped strength, hidden wisdom, and unspoken resilience. The trials you face are not meant to destroy you, but to refine you. Like gold tested in fire, your character is revealed in adversity. Life experience shows that those who endure hardship with faith and courage emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The storms you survive become testimonies, the scars you carry become lessons, and the tears you shed become rivers of empathy for others. As another proverb teaches, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. This journey will be divided into 12 chapters, each a pillar of wisdom designed to guide you through the seasons of life. We will explore courage, discipline, faith, relationships, leadership, legacy, and more. Each chapter will offer proverbs, storytelling, and counsel to remind you that your journey is sacred, your struggles are meaningful, and your victories are within reach. Think of these chapters as stepping stones across a river, each one carrying you closer to the other side, closer to the destiny that awaits you. But before we step into the chapters, let us pause and reflect on the truth that life is not measured by how many times we fall, but by how many times we rise. The righteous rise again, not because they are immune to pain, but because they refuse to surrender to it. Courage is not the absence of wounds, it is the decision to walk forward with them. Wisdom is not the absence of mistakes, it is the ability to learn from them. Good judgment is not the absence of risk, it is the discernment to choose the right path even when the wrong one seems easier. Consider the stories of those who refused to let their journeys end in failure. Abraham Lincoln faced defeat after defeat in elections before becoming one of history's most respected leaders. Helen Keller, born blind and deaf, overcame unimaginable obstacles to inspire millions with her words and life. Their stories remind us that destiny is not reserved for the flawless, it is written by those who persevere. As the proverb says, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Every small act of courage, every step of discipline, every moment of faith builds toward greatness. Your journey is not only about personal triumph, it is about the impact you leave on others. The choices you make ripple outward, touching lives you may never see. A kind word spoken today may heal a heart tomorrow. A sacrifice made today may inspire courage in generations to come. Legacy is not built in grand gestures alone, it is built in daily faithfulness. As wisdom declares, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. What you sow in courage and righteousness today will return as a harvest of blessing tomorrow. So let us begin with open hearts and willing spirits. Let us walk together through these chapters, not as readers of a book, but as travelers on a path. For your story is still unfolding, and every step you take is a sentence written in the book of destiny. Remember, your story isn't over yet, it is only beginning anew. And as we embark on this journey, let us hold fast to the truth that courage, wisdom, faith, and righteousness are not just principles to admire, they are tools to live by, anchors to steady us, and lights to guide us. Welcome to AI Audiobooks Empire, a channel dedicated to stories and wisdom that uplift, empower, and transform lives. Please like, share, and subscribe so you can continue this journey of growth with us. Now, settle in and let's begin. Your story isn't over yet. Chapter 1: The Power of Beginnings. Every great journey begins with a single step. Yet many hesitate, waiting for perfect conditions, flawless timing, or complete certainty. Wisdom teaches us that perfection is an illusion, and waiting for it is a trap. As the proverb says, "He who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap." The farmer plants even when the soil is uncertain. The sailor sets sail even when the winds are unpredictable. And the dreamer begins even when the path is unclear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to begin despite it. Beginnings are sacred because they declare faith in what is yet unseen. Storytelling reminds us of countless lives transformed by small beginnings. Thomas Edison did not wait for certainty before experimenting with the light bulb. He began, failed thousands of times, and eventually succeeded. Abraham Lincoln did not wait for perfect conditions before entering politics. He began, endured defeats, and eventually led a nation. Their courage to begin became the foundation of their legacy. As another proverb declares, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Every small act of courage is a stone carried. Every step forward is a piece of the mountain moved. Greatness is not born in grand gestures, but in humble beginnings. Life experience shows that beginnings are often humble, unnoticed, and even ridiculed. The entrepreneur starting with a small store, the student studying under dim light, the artist painting in obscurity all begin with little, yet their persistence transforms little into much. Courage in beginnings is not about grandeur, but about faithfulness. It is the quiet strength to say, "I will start today, even if I'm not yet ready." As wisdom teaches, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. The first step may seem insignificant, but it carries the weight of destiny. Consider the farmer who plants seeds in uncertain soil. He cannot control the rain, the sun, or the seasons, yet he plants anyway. His faith in the unseen harvest is courage in action. Consider the sailor who sets sail into uncertain waters. He cannot control the winds or the waves, yet he trusts the stars to guide him. His courage is not in knowing the outcome, but in trusting the journey. These stories remind us that beginnings are not about certainty, they are about trust. Trust that growth will follow, that strength will increase, and that wisdom will come. Beginnings also require humility. To begin is to admit that you are not yet complete, that you are still learning, still growing, still becoming. It is the willingness to be a beginner, to embrace imperfection, and to accept mistakes as teachers. As another proverb says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom begins with humility, and courage begins with the willingness to start small. Thus, the power of beginnings lies not in perfection, but in persistence. The greatest journeys are not taken by those who wait for perfection, but by those who embrace imperfection with faith. To begin is to declare faith in your future, to trust that progress will reveal the way, and to believe that destiny is worth pursuing. Your story is not over because you have the courage to begin again. And so, let us remember, beginnings are not small, they are sacred. They are the seeds of greatness, the sparks of destiny, and the proof that your journey is still alive. As wisdom declares, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Chapter 2. Defining courage. Courage is often misunderstood as the absence of fear. Yet true courage is the strength to act in spite of fear. Fear is natural. It warns us of danger, uncertainty, and risk. But wisdom teaches that fear must never be allowed to rule the heart. As the proverb says, the wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Courage is not recklessness. It is righteous boldness. It is the decision to stand firm when fear tempts retreat, to speak truth when silence feels safer, and to walk forward when the path is unclear. Courage is not about denying fear, it is about refusing to be controlled by it. Storytelling reveals the essence of courage in countless lives. Consider the young David facing Goliath. Fear would have silenced him, but courage gave him strength to stand against a giant. Consider Rosa Parks, who refused to surrender her seat. Fear could have kept her quiet, but courage ignited a movement. These examples remind us that courage is not measured by the size of the challenge, but by the willingness to confront it. As another proverb declares, he who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Courage begins within. It is the mastery of self before the mastery of circumstances. Life experience shows that courage is often quiet, unseen, and misunderstood. It is the student who raises a hand to ask a difficult question, the worker who speaks up against injustice, the parent who chooses sacrifice for the sake of their children. These acts may not make headlines, but they shape destinies. Courage is not only found in battlefields or political arenas, it is found in classrooms, homes, and workplaces. It is the daily choice to live with integrity, to act with faith, and to stand with righteousness. Courage is not a single act, but a pattern of living. Courage also requires discernment. Boldness without wisdom can become recklessness, but courage guided by understanding becomes righteousness. The soldier who fights for justice, the leader who speaks truth with humility, the friend who stands by another in times of trial all embody courage balanced with wisdom. As the proverb says, wisdom is better than weapons of war. Courage is not about charging blindly into danger. It is about choosing the right battles, standing for the right principles, and enduring for the right reasons. Consider the courage of those who faced ridicule for their convictions. Galileo stood firm in his discoveries despite opposition from powerful voices. His courage was not loud but steady, rooted in truth. Malala Yousafzai chose courage when she spoke for education, even when threatened with violence. Her courage was not reckless, it was righteous. These stories remind us that courage is not about the absence of risk, but about the presence of conviction. Courage is the strength to say, "I will not be silent, even if the world disagrees." Courage is also deeply personal. It is the strength to face your own weaknesses, to confront your own failures, and to rise above your own doubts. The addict who chooses recovery, the broken-hearted who chooses to love again, the discouraged who chooses to try once more all embody courage. As wisdom teaches, better is a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. Courage begins not with conquering others, but with conquering yourself. Thus, defining courage means understanding that it is both strength and humility, both boldness and wisdom. Courage is the balance between action and discernment, between risk and righteousness. It is the power to rise when fear says stay down, the wisdom to act when fear says wait, and the faith to believe when fear says quit. Courage is not a fleeting emotion, but a lifelong principle. And so, let us remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear decide your destiny. Chapter 3. The First Step. The first step is often the hardest, yet it is also the most powerful. Many dreams remain unfulfilled not because people lack talent or opportunity, but because they lack the courage to begin. Fear whispers, "Wait until you are ready," but wisdom teaches that readiness is born in action. As the proverb says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed." The first step is not about perfection, it is about faith. It is the declaration that you will not remain where you are, but you will move forward into the unknown, trusting that each step will reveal the path. Storytelling reminds us that every great achievement began with a single step. Noah began building the ark long before the rain came. His neighbors mocked him, but his obedience saved generations. Florence Nightingale took the first step into nursing when society frowned upon women in medicine, yet her courage transformed healthcare. Steve Jobs began in a garage, not a palace, yet his first step reshaped technology. These stories remind us that beginnings are rarely grand, they are often humble, uncertain, and misunderstood. Yet the first step is the seed of destiny, the spark that ignites the flame of greatness. Life experience shows that hesitation often robs people of opportunity. The student who delays studying misses the chance to excel. The worker who hesitates to speak loses the chance to be heard. The entrepreneur who waits for perfect timing misses the moment of breakthrough. As another proverb declares, "He who gathers crops in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son." Courage in the first step means seizing the moment, acting in faith, and trusting that progress will come through persistence. The first step may be small, but it is sacred. It is the proof that you believe in your future. The first step also requires humility. To begin is to admit that you are not yet complete, that you are still learning, still growing, still becoming. It is the willingness to be a beginner, to embrace imperfection, and to accept mistakes as teachers. As wisdom teachers, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. The first step may not be impressive to others, but it is precious to God, to destiny, and to your future self. Consider the courage of explorers who set out into unknown lands. They did not wait for maps to be drawn or paths to be cleared. They stepped forward into uncertainty, trusting that discovery awaited them. Consider the courage of inventors who dared to try what had never been done before. Their first steps were often ridiculed, yet their persistence changed the world. These stories remind us that the first step is not about applause, it is about obedience to the call within your heart. The first step is also a declaration of hope. It says, I believe tomorrow can be better than today. It says, I trust that my effort will bear fruit. It says, I refuse to let fear or doubt dictate my destiny. Hope is the fuel of beginnings, and courage is the spark that ignites it. As another proverb declares, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. The first step is the outward expression of inward hope. Thus, the first step is more than movement, it is a declaration of faith, courage, and vision. It is the choice to rise above fear, to silence doubt, and to trust that destiny is worth pursuing. The first step is the bridge between dreaming and doing, between wishing and working, between hoping and achieving. As wisdom teaches, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because you still have the power to take the first step today. Chapter 4. Discipline builds strength. Discipline is the backbone of courage, the foundation upon which strength is built. Without discipline, courage becomes fleeting, like a flame that flickers but quickly dies. Discipline is the daily choice to do what is right, even when it is difficult, inconvenient, or unnoticed. As the proverb says, he who loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. Discipline is not punishment, it is training. It is the steady hand that shapes character, the guiding principle that keeps us on the path of righteousness, and the quiet force that transforms weakness into strength. Storytelling reveals that the greatest victories are won not in moments of glory, but in years of discipline. The athlete who trains daily, rising before dawn, endures pain and sacrifice long before stepping into the arena. The musician who practices tirelessly, repeating scales and melodies, builds mastery long before performing on stage. The scholar who studies diligently, page after page, gains wisdom long before standing in front of an audience. Their success is not sudden, it is the fruit of discipline. As another proverb teaches, by patience and persistence, a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. Discipline is persistence in action, the quiet strength that moves mountains. Life experience shows that discipline is often the difference between success and failure. The worker who saves consistently, even in small amounts, builds wealth over time. The student who studies daily, even when tired, achieves excellence. The parent who consistently teaches values, even when children resist, shapes character that lasts for generations. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is the unseen force that sustains courage when emotions fade, the hidden strength that carries us through seasons of trial, and the faithful companion that ensures we do not quit. Discipline also requires sacrifice. It is the willingness to give up comfort for growth, to trade ease for endurance, and to exchange momentary pleasure for lasting reward. The athlete sacrifices sleep for training. The entrepreneur sacrifices leisure for building. The parent sacrifices personal dreams for the sake of children. These sacrifices are not losses, they are investments. As wisdom declares, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. Discipline is the seed of future strength, planted in the soil of sacrifice. Consider the discipline of those who shaped history. Nelson Mandela endured years of imprisonment, yet his discipline of spirit prepared him to lead with forgiveness. Mother Teresa lived a life of simplicity and service, her discipline of compassion touching millions. Their strength was not sudden, it was forged in daily discipline. As another proverb teaches, the hand of the diligent will rule, while the lazy will be put to forced labor. Discipline is the difference between ruling destiny and being ruled by circumstance. Discipline is also cumulative. Each small act builds upon the last, creating a reservoir of resilience. Waking early one day may seem insignificant, but waking early every day builds a habit of diligence. Saving a small amount may seem trivial, but saving consistently builds wealth. Speaking truth once may seem minor, but speaking truth daily builds integrity. Discipline compounds over time, transforming ordinary actions into extraordinary strength. Thus, discipline builds strength by shaping habits, refining character, and sustaining courage. It is the daily choice to rise early, to work diligently, to speak truthfully, and to live faithfully. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny, between intention and achievement, between courage and victory. As wisdom declares, the hand of the diligent will rule, while the lazy will be put to forced labor. And so, let us remember, discipline is not a burden, but a blessing. It is the path to strength, the foundation of courage, and the secret of endurance. Chapter 5. Wisdom guides courage. Courage without wisdom can become recklessness, but courage guided by wisdom becomes righteousness. Wisdom is the compass that directs boldness toward the right path. As the proverb says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Courage may give us strength to act, but wisdom teaches us when to act, how to act, and why to act. Together, they form a partnership that ensures our choices are not only bold but also fruitful. Courage without wisdom may lead to destruction, but courage with wisdom leads to victory. Storytelling reveals that the greatest leaders and heroes were not only courageous but wise. King Solomon prayed not for riches or power, but for wisdom to govern his people. His courage to lead was strengthened by his discernment. Mahatma Gandhi chose nonviolence as his weapon, proving that wisdom can guide courage into peaceful yet powerful resistance. Nelson Mandela, after years of imprisonment, chose reconciliation over vengeance, showing that wisdom can temper courage into healing. These examples remind us that wisdom is not weakness, it is strength refined. As another proverb declares, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." True wisdom begins with humility, acknowledging that our courage must be guided by principles greater than ourselves. Life experience teaches that wisdom often comes through reflection, counsel, and patience. The worker who listens to advice avoids costly mistakes. The parent who seeks guidance raises children with discernment. The student who studies diligently gains understanding that shapes decisions. Courage may push us forward, but wisdom ensures we do not stumble blindly. As the proverb says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisers they succeed. Wisdom is the light that illuminates the path of courage, ensuring that boldness does not become folly. Wisdom also protects courage from pride. Boldness without humility can lead to arrogance, but wisdom reminds us that true strength is found in service, not domination. The leader who listens before speaking, the friend who considers before advising, the worker who plans before acting all embody courage guided by wisdom. As wisdom teaches, pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Courage must be tempered by humility, and humility is born of wisdom. Consider the courage of Esther, who risked her life to approach the king, but did so with wisdom, timing her request carefully and preparing her heart in prayer. Her courage saved her people, but her wisdom ensured her courage was effective. Consider Martin Luther King Jr., whose courage to speak against injustice was guided by wisdom in strategy, patience, and vision. His courage was not reckless, it was purposeful. These stories remind us that wisdom gives courage direction, ensuring that boldness is not wasted but invested in righteousness. Wisdom also teaches us discernment in battles. Not every fight is worth fighting, not every hill is worth climbing, not every word is worth speaking. Courage may tempt us to act, but wisdom teaches us which actions matter most. The soldier who fights only necessary battles, the parent who chooses which lessons to enforce, the worker who knows when to speak, and when to remain silent all embody courage guided by wisdom. As another proverb declares, a fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. Wisdom ensures that courage is fruitful, not foolish. Thus, wisdom guides courage by aligning strength with righteousness, boldness with discernment, and action with understanding. It is the balance that ensures courage is not wasted, the counsel that ensures courage is fruitful, and the principle that ensures courage is righteous. As wisdom teaches, blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding. And so, let us remember, courage may move mountains, but wisdom ensures we move the right ones. Together, they make us unstoppable, guiding our journey with strength and good judgment. Chapter 6: Faith over Fear. Faith is the anchor that steadies the soul when fear threatens to overwhelm. Fear magnifies uncertainty, whispering that the future is hopeless, but faith declares that the unseen is possible and the impossible can be overcome. As the proverb says, Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Faith is not blind, it is visionary. It sees beyond the storm to the calm, beyond the trial to the triumph, beyond the pain to the promise. Courage may move us forward, but faith sustains us when fear tries to pull us back. Storytelling reveals that the greatest victories were won by those who chose faith over fear. Daniel entered the lion's den not with trembling, but with trust, and his faith silenced the mouths of lions. The Israelites faced the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them, yet faith parted the waters and made a way. In modern times, countless individuals have faced illness, poverty, or persecution with faith as their shield, and their stories remind us that fear may roar loudly, but faith speaks with eternal authority. As another proverb teaches, we walk by faith, not by sight. Faith is the courage to trust even when the path is hidden. Life experience teaches that fear often paralyzes, but faith liberates. The student who fears failure may never try, but the one who believes in possibility studies harder and succeeds. The worker who fears rejection may remain silent, but the one who trusts in truth speaks boldly and earns respect. The parent who fears inadequacy may withdraw, but the one who believes in love continues to nurture and guide. Faith does not eliminate fear, it overpowers it. It is the quiet strength that says, I will not be defined by what I fear, but by what I believe. Faith also requires surrender. It is the willingness to trust in a wisdom greater than your own, to believe in promises beyond your understanding, and to rest in the assurance that you are not alone. As wisdom declares, be still, and know that I am God. Fear thrives in chaos, but faith thrives in surrender. The one who trusts does not need to see the entire path, they only need to take the next step, believing that light will come. Consider the courage of those who faced overwhelming odds with faith. Corrie ten Boom hid Jews during the Holocaust, trusting God's protection even when fear surrounded her. Her faith gave her strength to endure imprisonment and loss. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of a dream, not because fear was absent, but because faith was present. His faith in justice and equality gave courage to millions. These stories remind us that faith is not passive, it is active, shaping choices, inspiring courage, and sustaining hope. Faith also transforms perspective. Where fear sees obstacles, faith sees opportunities. Where fear sees endings, faith sees beginnings. Where fear sees defeat, faith sees victory. As another proverb teaches, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the lens that changes how we see the world, turning despair into determination and trials into testimonies. Thus, faith over fear is the principle that transforms lives. It is the daily choice to trust in promises greater than circumstances, to believe in outcomes beyond sight, and to walk boldly into destiny with confidence. Faith is the antidote to fear, the light that dispels darkness, and the strength that sustains courage. As wisdom declares, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And so, let us remember, Fear may rise, but faith must rise higher. Your story isn't over yet, because faith ensures that every chapter leads to hope. Chapter 7: Stories of Everyday Heroes. Heroes are not only found in history books or celebrated on grand stages, they walk among us daily, often unnoticed. True heroism is not about fame or applause. It is about courage lived quietly, faithfully, and consistently. As the proverb says, "The righteous are remembered forever." Everyday heroes are those who choose integrity when compromise is easier, compassion when indifference is common, and sacrifice when selfishness is tempting. Their stories remind us that greatness is not measured by recognition, but by righteousness. Storytelling reveals countless examples of everyday heroes. The teacher who stays late to help struggling students, planting seeds of knowledge that will grow for generations. The nurse who works tirelessly through the night, offering care and comfort to the sick. The farmer who labors faithfully, ensuring food reaches the tables of families he will never meet. These acts may not make headlines, but they shape lives. As another proverb teaches, whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. Everyday heroes pour themselves out for others, and in doing so, they leave behind legacies of love. Life experience shows that heroism is often born in ordinary circumstances. The parent who sacrifices personal dreams to raise children with values. The friend who stands by another in times of grief, offering presence when words fail. The worker who speaks truth against injustice, even at personal risk. These are acts of courage that ripple outward, inspiring others to live with integrity and compassion. Everyday heroes prove that courage is not reserved for extraordinary moments, it is woven into the fabric of daily life. Consider the courage of those who serve quietly, the volunteer who feeds the hungry, the neighbor who helps rebuild after disaster, the stranger who donates blood to save a life. All embody heroism without applause. Their courage is not loud but lasting, not celebrated but significant. As wisdom declares, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Heroism is not about recognition, it is about love expressed through sacrifice. Everyday heroes also remind us that courage is contagious. The student who stands up against bullying inspires others to do the same. The worker who refuses corruption encourages colleagues to walk in integrity. The parent who models faithfulness teaches children to live with courage. One act of heroism can spark a chain reaction, lighting courage in hearts that once trembled in fear. As another proverb teaches, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Courage shared becomes courage multiplied. Thus, the stories of everyday heroes remind us that courage is accessible to all. You do not need a crown, a title, or a spotlight to be a hero. You need only the courage to live rightly, to act faithfully, and to love deeply. Heroism is not about being remembered by the world, it is about being remembered by those whose lives you touched. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because every day offers the chance to be a hero in someone's life. Chapter 8: Courage in Failure. Failure is not the end of the story, it is often the beginning of wisdom. Many fear failure as if it were final, but in truth, failure is a teacher, shaping character and refining vision. As the proverb says, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Courage in failure is the ability to rise after falling, to learn after losing, and to continue after being broken. Failure does not define you, your response to failure does. Courage transforms failure from defeat into discovery, from shame into strength, from regret into resilience. Storytelling reveals that the greatest successes were born from failure. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His courage in failure gave the world light. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy and rejection before creating a legacy of imagination that continues to inspire generations. J.K. Rowling endured rejection after rejection before her stories became beloved worldwide. These lives remind us that failure is not a wall but a doorway, not a grave but a garden, not an end but a beginning. As another proverb teaches, a man's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? Failure often redirects us to paths we would not have chosen but desperately needed. Life experience shows that failure humbles us, teaches us, and prepares us. The student who fails on exam learns discipline for the next. The worker who loses a job discovers resilience and new opportunities. The parent who makes mistakes learns patience and deeper love. Failure is painful, but it is purposeful. It strips away pride, reveals weakness, and builds strength. Courage in failure is not about denying pain, it is about embracing growth. As wisdom declares, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." Courage in failure is patience with yourself, trusting that every fall is a step toward maturity. Failure also refines perspective. It teaches us that success is not about avoiding mistakes, but about learning from them. The entrepreneur who fails in one venture gains wisdom for the next. The artist whose work is rejected develops resilience and creativity. The leader who faces defeat learns humility and discernment. Failure is not wasted, it is invested in growth. As wisdom reminds us, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. Failure is the soil in which resilience grows, the furnace in which character is forged, and the classroom in which wisdom is taught. Consider the courage of biblical figures and modern leaders alike. Peter denied Christ 3 times, yet his failure became the foundation of his future strength as a leader of the early church. Abraham Lincoln lost elections repeatedly, yet his failures prepared him to lead a nation through its darkest hour. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job, yet her courage and failure propelled her into becoming one of the most influential voices of her generation. These stories remind us that failure is not final, it is formative. Thus, courage in failure is the secret to enduring success. It is the refusal to quit, the determination to rise, and the faith to believe that tomorrow holds promise. Failure is not the end of your story, it is a chapter filled with lessons, preparing you for victories yet to come. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet. because failure is not final, it is fertile ground for courage, wisdom, and growth. Chapter 9: Courage in Relationships. Relationships are the fabric of life, woven with threads of trust, love, and sacrifice. Yet they require courage to thrive. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to open your heart, and to risk rejection. It takes courage to forgive when wronged, to reconcile when wounded, and to love when it feels easier to walk away. As the proverb says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Courage in relationships is not about avoiding conflict, but about facing it with humility and love. It is the strength to build bridges where fear builds walls. Storytelling reveals that the most enduring relationships were sustained by courage. Ruth chose courage when she declared to Naomi, "Where you go, I will go." Her loyalty became the foundation of a legacy. Nelson Mandela showed courage in reconciliation, choosing forgiveness over bitterness, and his courage healed a nation. Even in everyday life, couples who endure hardship together, friends who stand by one another in trials, and families who remain united in storms demonstrate that courage is the glue that holds relationships together. As another proverb teaches, two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. Courage ensures that unity is stronger than division. Life experience shows that relationships often falter not because of lack of love, but because of lack of courage. Fear of rejection keeps people from expressing affection. Fear of conflict keeps families from addressing wounds. Fear of vulnerability keeps friendships shallow. Yet courage transforms relationships. The spouse who chooses to communicate honestly, the parent who chooses to discipline lovingly, the friend who chooses to stand faithfully all embody courage in relationships. Courage is not about perfection, it is about persistence in love. Courage in relationships also requires forgiveness. To forgive is to release the weight of bitterness, to choose healing over hurt, and to rebuild trust even when it feels risky. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. As wisdom declares, love keeps no record of wrongs. The courage to forgive restores broken bonds, heals wounded hearts, and opens the door to reconciliation. Without forgiveness, relationships crumble under the weight of resentment. With forgiveness, they flourish in the soil of grace. Consider the courage of parents who continue to love children who stray, believing in their return. Consider the courage of friends who remain loyal in seasons of misunderstanding, choosing patience over pride. Consider the courage of spouses who endure storms together, refusing to let hardship tear them apart. These are not grand gestures seen by the world, but quiet acts of courage that sustain relationships. As another proverb teaches, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Relationships also demand courage in vulnerability. To open your heart is to risk rejection, but it is also to invite connection. Vulnerability is the soil in which intimacy grows. The friend who shares their struggles, the spouse who expresses their fears, the child who confides in a parent all take courageous steps toward deeper bonds. Fear builds walls, but courage builds bridges. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is the doorway to love. Courage in relationships is also about endurance. Love is not sustained by feelings alone, but by choices made daily. The courage to remain faithful in difficulty, to remain patient in frustration, and to remain kind in conflict is what gives relationships longevity. As wisdom declares, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Courage in relationships is the strength to keep loving even when love feels costly. Thus, courage in relationships is the daily choice to love deeply, forgive freely, and stand faithfully. It is the strength to speak truth with gentleness, to endure hardship with loyalty, and to nurture bonds with patience. Relationships thrive not because they are perfect, but because they are courageous. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because every relationship you build with courage becomes a chapter of love, loyalty, and legacy. Chapter 10: Courage in Leadership. Leadership is not about titles or positions, it is about responsibility, vision, and courage. True leaders are not those who command with fear, but those who inspire with faith. As the proverb says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Courage in leadership means standing firm when others waver, speaking truth when silence is easier, and guiding with integrity when compromise tempts. Leadership requires courage because every decision carries weight, every word shapes destiny, and every action influences lives. Storytelling reveals that the greatest leaders were defined not by comfort, but by courage. Moses led his people through the wilderness, trusting in God's promise despite opposition and doubt. Martin Luther King Jr. stood boldly against injustice, declaring a dream that continues to inspire generations. Winston Churchill led a nation through war with words of courage that strengthened weary hearts. These leaders remind us that courage in leadership is not about popularity, it is about principle. As another proverb teaches, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. He directs it like a watercourse, wherever he pleases. True leadership is guided by wisdom and anchored in courage. Life experience shows that leadership often demands difficult choices. The manager who chooses honesty over profit, the teacher who chooses discipline over ease, the parent who chooses guidance over indulgence all demonstrate courage in leadership. Leadership is not about pleasing everyone, it is about doing what is right, even when it is unpopular. Courage in leadership means accepting responsibility, enduring criticism, and remaining faithful to values. As wisdom declares, better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Courage ensures that leadership is righteous, not reckless. Courage in leadership also requires humility. The greatest leaders are not those who seek power for themselves, but those who serve others faithfully. Jesus taught, "The greatest among you shall be your servant." Leadership is not about being above others, it is about being among them, guiding with love and serving with sacrifice. The leader who listens before speaking, who serves before commanding, who sacrifices before demanding this, is the leader who inspires courage in others. Consider the courage of leaders who faced overwhelming odds. Abraham Lincoln led a divided nation through civil war, choosing unity over despair. Nelson Mandela led South Africa through reconciliation, choosing forgiveness over vengeance. Their courage was not reckless, it was righteous, guided by wisdom and anchored in vision. Leadership is not about avoiding storms, it is about guiding others through them. Leadership also demands vision. Courage without vision can become chaos, but courage with vision becomes destiny. The leader must see beyond the present to the future, beyond the storm to the calm, beyond the struggle to the victory. Vision gives courage direction, and courage gives vision strength. As wisdom declares, write the vision. Make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. Leadership requires the courage to dream boldly and the discipline to pursue faithfully. Thus, courage in leadership is the strength to guide with vision, the humility to serve with love, and the resolve to act with righteousness. It is the daily choice to lead not with fear, but with faith, not with pride, but with humility, not with selfishness, but with sacrifice. Leadership is not about titles, it is about testimony. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because every act of courageous leadership writes a chapter of influence, legacy, and hope. Chapter 11: Courage in Legacy. Legacy is not what we leave behind in possessions, but what we leave behind in principles. It is the echo of our choices, the ripple of our actions, and the memory of our character. As the proverb says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Courage in legacy means living today with tomorrow in mind, shaping decisions not only for ourselves, but for generations yet unborn. It is the strength to plant seeds of righteousness, knowing that others will reap the harvest. Storytelling reminds us that legacies are built by courageous lives. Abraham became the father of nations because he trusted God's promise. Mother Teresa left a legacy of compassion because she chose to serve the poorest of the poor. Nelson Mandela's legacy of reconciliation was born from courage in forgiveness. These lives remind us that legacy is not accidental, it is intentional. As another proverb teaches, the memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. Courage ensures that our legacy is one of blessing, not bitterness. Life experience shows that legacy is shaped in daily choices. The parent who teaches values leaves a legacy of character. The teacher who inspires students leaves a legacy of wisdom. The worker who lives with integrity leaves a legacy of trust. Courage in legacy means choosing righteousness even when no one is watching, living faithfully even when no one applauds, and persevering in goodness even when it costs dearly. Legacy is not built in a moment, it is built in a lifetime of courageous choices. Courage in legacy also requires sacrifice. To leave behind something meaningful, one must often give up comfort, convenience, or recognition. The soldier who lays down his life for freedom, the activist who endures ridicule for justice, the parent who sacrifices personal dreams for the sake of children all embody courage in legacy. Their sacrifices become stories told for generations, shaping the values of those who follow. As wisdom declares, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That inheritance is not merely material, it is spiritual, moral, and eternal. Consider the courage of leaders who shaped nations. Abraham Lincoln's legacy was not wealth but unity, born from courage in leadership. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy was not fame but justice, born from courage in vision. Their legacies endure because they chose courage over comfort, principle over popularity, and righteousness over compromise. Legacy is not about what you gain, it is about what you give. Not about what you keep, but about what you leave behind. Legacy is also personal. It is not reserved for the famous or powerful. It is available to all. The father who works tirelessly to provide, the mother who sacrifices daily for her children, the elder who shares wisdom with the young all leave legacies of courage. Their names may not be known worldwide, but their influence shapes families, communities, and futures. Legacy is not about recognition, it is about impact. Fear leaves behind silence, but courage leaves behind songs. Fear leaves behind emptiness, but courage leaves behind fullness. Fear leaves behind regret, but courage leaves behind inspiration. Thus, courage in legacy is the determination to live in such a way that your story continues long after you are gone. It is the strength to leave behind not just memories but principles, not just possessions but values, not just achievements but inspiration. As wisdom declares, the righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because every choice you make today becomes a chapter in the legacy you will leave tomorrow. Chapter 12. Courage Always. Courage is not a momentary act but a lifelong principle. It is not something we summon only in crises, it is something we carry daily, in choices both great and small. As the proverb says, "Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord." Courage always means living with integrity when no one is watching, speaking truth when silence is easier, and walking faithfully when the path is uncertain. It is the constant companion of righteousness, the steady flame that lights the way through every season of life. Storytelling reminds us that those who lived courageously did so not only in defining moments, but in daily faithfulness. The Apostle Paul endured hardship, imprisonment, and persecution, yet his courage remained steadfast until the end. Harriet Tubman risked her life repeatedly, not once, but countless times, to lead others to freedom. Their courage was not occasional, it was perpetual. As another proverb teaches, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Courage always means consistency, persistence, and endurance. Life experience shows that courage must be renewed daily. Yesterday's courage cannot fight today's battles. The parent must choose courage to raise children with values in a world of distractions. The worker must choose courage to remain honest in a culture of compromise. The student must choose courage to pursue excellence in the face of discouragement. Courage always means refusing to quit, refusing to compromise, and refusing to surrender to fear. It is not about one great act, it is about 1,000 small acts of faithfulness. Courage always also requires perseverance. It is the strength to keep going when the road is long, to keep believing when the evidence seems scarce, and to keep loving when love feels costly. As wisdom declares, do not grow weary in doing good, For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Courage always is the refusal to let weariness win, the determination to keep sowing seeds of righteousness even when the harvest seems far away. Consider the courage of those who endured quietly. The single mother who works tirelessly to provide for her children, the elder who continues to share wisdom even when ignored, the worker who chooses honesty even when it costs promotion, all embody courage, always. Their lives may not be celebrated on grand stages, but their daily courage builds legacies of strength. Courage always is not about applause, it is about endurance. Courage always is also about faith. It is the belief that tomorrow can be better than today, that light will break through darkness, that hope will rise above despair. Faith fuels courage, and courage sustains faith. Together, they form the rhythm of a life lived boldly. As wisdom teaches, the just shall live by faith. Courage always is faith in action, lived not once, but daily, not occasionally, but perpetually. Thus, courage always is the principle that sustains every chapter of your story. It is the strength to begin, the wisdom to endure, the faith to overcome, and the love to persist. Courage always means that fear never has the final word, doubt never has the final say, and despair never has the final victory. And so, let us remember, your story isn't over yet, because courage is not temporary, it is eternal. It is the heartbeat of destiny, the anchor of faith, and the light that guides your journey. Closing summary. Your story is a journey, not a destination. It is written not only in victories, but in struggles, not only in triumphs, but in trials. Each chapter of this audiobook has reminded you that courage is the thread that weaves through every season of life. Courage to begin, courage to endure, courage to lead, courage to love, and courage to leave a legacy. As the proverb says, the righteous will live by faith. Your story is not defined by endings, but by the courage to keep writing new beginnings. We have walked together through 12 chapters of wisdom, proverbs, storytelling, and counsel. We have seen that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear decide your destiny. We have learned that discipline builds strength, wisdom guides courage, faith overcomes fear, and legacy is shaped by daily choices. These principles are not distant ideals, they are practical truths for your life today. They are not meant to be admired from afar, but lived out in the daily rhythm of your journey. Life experience teaches that every person has the power to be unstoppable. You may stumble, but you can rise. You may fail, but you can learn. You may fear, but you can believe. Your journey is sacred, your struggles are meaningful, and your victories are within reach. As wisdom declares, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Your story is not over, it is unfolding with every choice you make. Each sunrise is a new page, each decision is a new sentence, and each act of courage is a new paragraph in the book of your destiny. Courage is the constant companion of your journey. It is the strength to begin when fear says wait, the wisdom to endure when doubt says quit, the faith to believe when despair says give up, and the love to persist when selfishness says walk away. Courage is not occasional, it is perpetual. It is the heartbeat of destiny, the anchor of faith, and the light that guides your path. As another proverb teaches, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So let this audiobook be more than words, let it be a call to action. Live with courage always. Walk with wisdom daily. Stand with faith continually. Love with persistence eternally. And remember, your story isn't over yet. It is still being written, and with courage, discipline, wisdom, and faith, it will be a story worth telling for generations to come. Your legacy will not be measured by possessions, but by principles, not by titles, but by testimonies, not by applause, but by impact. The seeds you plant today will become the harvest of tomorrow. The courage you live today will become the inspiration of tomorrow. And the love you give today will become the legacy of tomorrow. So rise each day with courage in your heart, wisdom in your mind, faith in your spirit, and love in your actions. Your journey is not finished, it is unfolding. Your story is not over, it is alive. And with courage always, it will be a story of hope, strength, and victory. Thank you for listening. If this audiobook inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to AI Audiobooks Empire. Remember, your story isn't over yet. Live boldly and let courage rise above fear. The end.